Bethesda at home. All right. Yeah, so just initially here, I just want to have a look at these guys, because I mean there are people that I know here since I'm like a returning player. Like there are some of these people I do actually already know. So like the Gina and Jessica, I mean they have been like the community managers since like forever, basically. But it seems like Gina has a new title here, Principal Creator Engagement Manager. Okay, so it seems like Gina has like a new title. And Jessica's still like the community manager here. Associate Director. This Alec dude I have not seen before. Senior Combat Designer. I have not seen this dude before. Mike Finnegan, I do know from before. Like I can't remember his title. If he is like always been like an associate design director? I don't think that's been his title since forever. And we have Brian Wheeler here, which is like the combat and PvP director. And Jason Barnes, associate design director. I have not seen Jason before either. So like Brian Wheeler, I mean I've heard a lot about Brian Wheeler. But like these three right here is like the ones that I know the least. Alec, Brian, and Jason. Like Gina, Mike, and Jessica, I do know from like earlier. They've been at it for many years. I think Brian has as well. Alec and Jason, I don't know that well though. Let's keep watching.
That. Right. It was right as I unmuted. I heard it. That was good. That was good. That was like the one time I was saying like how I'm gonna get all the
Yeah.
and it was like
Yeah.
right before a major stream. All right, everyone, welcome to today's live stream. This is a Dev Updates live stream. This is going to be a new series we're going to try and do to give you all a little bit more insight into what the teams have been working on and maybe even like a little peek at some future stuff.
Ooh, let's go.
This is not going to include everything. This is just, some members of the team talking about some things that they are working on. But we thought it would be a really good opportunity to just allow them time to give you all updates.
So basically, like the people that are here to talk about updates and stuff, it's the combat designer, the design director, the combat and PvP director. Yeah. I mean, actually, when looking at it, like both Jason and Mike actually has the same title, Associate Design Director. So these two are actually kind of like, they have the same role. But yeah, so I just wanted to check, like, to kind of predict what we are going to be able to see, or what we are going to be able to see here. I'm very excited for, like, the combat and PvP director. I really hope Mr. Wheeler has some interesting stuff. Also, like when it comes to like the combat design and stuff, like what Alec is gonna be talking about. I mean, basically, I guess that's like the updates to like the skill mechanics and animations and stuff. Let's keep watching.
Especially as we just finished PTS cycle recently and we're kind of approaching launch.
Yeah, I did not play PTS.
Update 49. It's a good time to just kind of sit and talk about what it is everyone's working on. I am
Season 0, Tome of Dawn and Dusk.
I'm gonna apologize in advance.
Launching April
I
2nd.
sleep last night. I feel really tired and just if it seems like I'm kind of zoning out to another planet, I'm just tired and I didn't sleep well.
It's the yawning drinking game.
It's the
Oh no.
I'd be dead like before this.
Wake up, wakey wakey.
Drops are on today. During the stream, we will be answering some questions here and there as we see them popping up.
Okay. I wonder if the drops are still active. I don't know.
feel like we should go ahead and just kind of get started. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everyone on the stream right now has been on a stream before. If not, there it goes.
Hi.
It's happening. The thought just kind of went.
Well, Brian is actually standing up.
Then they haven't.
It's a good thing that the stream isn't about me. It's all of you, and you're the ones that are going to do some talking. So why don't we kick
Yeah,
things
we have
off
names up.
We've got
Names and titles. We're good.
We'll go ahead and kick things off with Finn. Why don't
Okay.
you start
Yeah.
with some night market stuff? Because that was recently on PTS.
Sure.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was recently on PTS. So there's not a ton of updates.
Yeah, so like I've not seen any of like the night market stuff. On like the PS, so I have no idea like how this system is gonna work. Maybe I actually have to go and kind of like have a look at some PTS stuff. Yeah, if I'm not just gonna like save it for for the excitement later of like just jumping in and discovering it.
For this, I will say that we appreciate everybody jumping on and trying night market on PTS. It's been great. We found so many bugs, so which is inherent. Like if we ever do something new or something like that, then we're invariably going to find a lot of bugs. We found so many, and the team has been working pretty much nonstop to kind of squash bugs. Some of the important ones that people might not have seen, but like the headpiece email or mails that went out as night market finishes, those weren't working properly. We got those working right. But some also related to some feedback, some boss health adjustments, the boss's health in the instances, the 4-player and the 12-player instances. We've reduced those a little bit to give players a bit of, to make it feel a little bit less spongy. And the power levels for the base pop, that as you're running through the night market, we're going to adjust those down slightly. They were really, really deadly, and we wanted to give players a little bit more of a chance as they're kind of fighting through that base pop and stuff like that. So we're going to adjust those power levels a little bit down.
But we still want it to be
otherwise,
fun,
it's
right?
yeah, we definitely still want it to be hard, and we want players to soft group as much as possible. So, go in there, find a group to either tag along with or group up and kind of traverse and stuff. And that's the goal of this place, is to have this community kind of event as you're running through here.
Yeah, you
a
don't
lot
need
of
a
good people,
perfect group comp, right?
right? Exactly. To take out some of the things.
Yeah, so like one of the things about ESO when it comes to like the group content, like the content that you actually like should at least be a group to do. Thing is about those systems is that like when they work, they are great, but when they don't work, I mean, it's such a pain. Like it's just so if you queue up for a dungeon where it's like people are queuing up for roles that they are not filling, people are queuing up for battlegrounds, and like the teams are not leveled. It's just like more often than not, it's basically like one team is just so much kind of like better than the other team, and stuff like this. So I really hope these are kind of systems that are gonna be like polished, to make it like more of like a leveled playing field, basically.
You're gonna want them. You're gonna want a good group. Probably you want a tank at least. Healers are always beneficial. So you'll want some type of mitigating factors in there. But the base pop, we wanted players to be able to kind of tackle with maybe not necessarily the best, most optimum groups and stuff like that. Taking a look at the feedback, I know that we've seen some feedback regarding the 36-player cap in Night Market, and how they worry that everything's going to be a little bit too tough. Some of these adjustments start to address that, but another aspect that we want to do, because some people,
Yeah, so why are they not showing any like night market stuff? So I have a video here. I have a video here that I can pull up that we can actually check out. I mean, I don't know if this is gonna be like super representable for like what this actually really is, but I mean let's have a look at this. Let's hear what this dude says.
Arrived on PTS, and I had so much fun with it. It's a temporary zone where you align with one of 3 factions and then compete against other players by killing.
What? Compete against other players? What? Okay, so is this like a PvP thing?
Night Market arrived on PTS, and I had so much fun with it. It's a temporary zone where you align with one of 3 factions and then compete against other players by killing bosses and completing other activities.
Oh, okay, so it is kind of like a PvP PvE type of thing.
In one of 3 districts. And the difficulty looks promising. The trash offers a decent challenge. Any decent build can survive it, provided you don't take some heavy attack to the face. It's so nice finally having some overland content that is genuinely capable of killing you.
Okay, so is this overland content?
I think the trash difficulty should stay the way it is. It's not that hard, but the zones are full of trash mobs, so they have to be solvable, so you can actually traverse and get back to your group if you ever split up. As for bosses, well, it depends here. It depends if ZeniMax's intention is to make tanks needed. At the current moment, tanks are useful but not needed. For example, the Spider Zone has a 30 million HP Wandering boss.
Okay, so it's like so how this works? Like, are you kind of like split into teams and then you kind of like fight to beat a certain content the fastest? Is that how it works?
Which is a modified version of Roxa the Warped from Balsonar Dungeon. If you've fought it before, you know how deadly her beam is. And in the Night Market, I could simply face tank that beam on a solo build by just beaming in her face and out-healing the beam with Pale Order. Now, this is fine if the intention is for this content to not require any tanks, but if ZOS wants to encourage different roles, then the strongest enemy of the district, who is literally always shown on the map so people can converge on them, should probably deal damage that would challenge a tank. Because the beam was extremely deadly for my solo build and almost got me killed, but if that's what it does to a solo build, then it will tickle an actual tank. I was worried about bosses being too easy with too many people. We've been easily killing them with as few as 3 people without a tank.
Bro, this boss has like 30 million HP.
And they became extremely easy when more people joined us. But ZOS said that the player cap on Night Market will be 36 players per instance.
Okay, 36 per instance. But does that mean that it's gonna like open up and you're gonna be able to do it like even though you are not like filled up on the player cap?
So it seems like it will become extremely easy sometimes when there's a lot of people in a single district, but most of the time you should get a decent challenge when facing bosses. Even assuming a bunch of players will AFK in the plaza, which is the main hub, like let's assume 12 players are AFK, that still leaves 8 players per district, which means you'll keep stumbling upon people, because
Yeah, per district. So it is kind of similar to what's it called? Imperial City?
the districts really aren't that big.
I guess.
There is a lot of recycling from Infinite Archive. Lots of enemies are copies of ads you know from the archive. The Realm Shaper, Stormcasters with their Loathsome Negate, etc. Another thing that's copied from Infinite Archive are the verses. Killing Roxa the Warped gave everyone Swift Gale for 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Completing the Spider...
Yeah, it really seems like it's inspired, or it's kind of like almost like a mix between Imperial City and Infinite Archive. But but it doesn't seem like the PvP. So you're not actually like directly confronting other players. You are kind of playing in teams to beat the other team's score, it seems like.
Minigame gave everyone...
So as we can see up here, like we have the 3 different we have like the 3 different teams here, it seems, the red, blue and yellow. And you can kind of like see the points here. So I mean, this guy's team is obviously winning here with like almost 3k points.
One flame aura for 15 minutes, etc. Just like in IA, these verses are very powerful. Swiftgale dealt a ton of damage. Bountiful resources allow me to keep up 100% uptime on Take Flight. They really make you powerful and allow you to completely stomp the remaining content. Each zone has some areas which are inaccessible at first, but can be accessed by unlocking a traversal tool, like for example a grappling hook in the spider zone. And the grind for these is pretty annoying at the moment. I don't mind a grind that takes long, but I do mind RNG grinds. And that's exactly what it is. You need to obtain a bunch of fragments from a variety of bosses, but the drop isn't guaranteed. This is especially bad because this is group content, which means you don't have to just keep killing the boss.
Yeah, so I wonder if you are actually queuing up for this, like if you're actually queuing up for this, kind of like in the same way that you would queue up for like a random dungeon or a battleground or something.
Until you get the fragment. You have to keep killing them until everyone in your group gets the fragment, because you wouldn't leave a friend behind. Another big issue that is a thing at the moment, but Zos already addressed, is that Night Market is treated like Overland and uses the Overland lockout, which means you stop getting loot from bosses if you kill them too fast. But Zos already confirmed that it will be removed.
Okay.
Each zone has a format.
Oh, look at this. Yeah, this is really interesting. Okay, so how the heck does this work? So basically, it seems like you have to kind of like do the first row here to, like, you have to do these two to get to this one. And then you can get to this one, or you can get to like the top one from any of the like these three here.
Dungeon, and the main hub has a trial. I didn't need to try them yet because you need the traversal tools to access the dungeons.
Oh, okay. So, okay. So this is like separate from like the main thing that you're doing in the activity.
And as I just said, the traversal tools are gated behind the grind. Zos already promised that we'd get access to these dungeons in trial without any grind during the third week of PTS. Once you get the traversal tools, there isn't really any grind to get to them. Accessing a dungeon requires you to kill 2 bosses in that zone, which are shown on the map. And accessing the trial requires you to complete each of the dungeons once.
Okay.
Which, in my opinion, is reasonable. Each of the 3 districts has a skirmish, which is an event that happens every 3 hours.
Okay.
There's a skirmish happening every hour in the night market.
What's that?
They seem to happen one after another. I've only tried the spider one, and it involved throwing a bunch of AoEs at spiders, then carrying some stuff, and then there was a boss fight.
Okay, so like the skirmish is this like reoccurring event like every 3 hours. That like includes something else than what you're doing for the remaining like 2 hours and 55 minutes, I guess.
Really like having events happening at a specific time, which you can plan for. It kind of reminds me of planning ahead to do world bosses in Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, okay, so it seems like like they're trying to make this like a system that you could basically, so it's basically like a side activity from like the base game. So what we already have in the game that are kind of like side activities apart from the base game are like, you know, dungeons. I mean, you can keep running dungeons over and over again if you want to, and that's like a very fun way to play. Like you could just run dungeons all day. And then you have like the PvP things, right? You have the battlegrounds, the Cyrodiil, Imperial City, those things that are kind of like totally outside, or they are like separate from like the base game, like the activities that you're kind of doing in the campaign in the base game. So it seems like they're trying to kind of create another system like that. Another system, obviously also like the arenas and the Infinite Archive obviously are also the same thing. Like activities that takes you out of, yeah, basically like the main campaign or the main zones of the game and into like activities that you can just repeat over and over again. So it seems like they're really, really trying to make this night market like one of those types of activities.
At a specific hour. My feedback will be extremely short because most of the issues have already been addressed. They're not fixed on PTS, but they will be fixed on the third week. So stuff like the bosses having the Overland loot lockout, which is what I described before. That was a huge pain, but the lockout is being removed. It will be nice to be able to see the player's faction on their nameplate, maybe even with favor listed, so you can flex your contribution. Overall, I feel like with Favor, they've achieved exactly what they failed to do with the Riving Wall, because they're showing the actual numbers instead of percentages. So it's nice seeing exactly how much you've contributed. The trash response feel a bit too short. Sometimes you can barely finish a dialogue. I was interacting with some statue which was giving a quest, and I was trying to actually read the text, but the trash bag on top of it kept responding extremely fast. I am unsure if the timer has to be nerfed because we still haven't seen how Night Market will feel with the proper amount of players.
I feel like that's kind of like a thing with ESO as well that has kind of like been this way for years. It's like the competition between like the story that's actually being told that you kind of like want to experience, and you want to you kind of want to experience the story and like hear the lore and everything, but that's heavily competing with like how fun it is to actually just like run around and steamroll everything, or at least try to steamroll everything.
Because the PTS is way less populated than live. Maybe the correct solution will be to move any quest-giving NPC away from where the trash bags are. And that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts.
Yeah, okay, so I feel like I have like a general understanding at least of like what the night market is now. I mean it's important for me to kind of like have some type of thoughts about what this system actually is when I'm watching this update, so I kind of know what they're talking about.
Suggested increasing that cap so we can have more players in there, but I think that the more players you add, the less impactful all of that stuff becomes. And I think we would rather adjust it on the monster level, because we want this to feel like a very tight, close-knit experience where there's not a ton of players in there, and you're going to want to go through and find the right people. And because of how tight the zone is, and all the encounters and everything, we wanted to make sure that we kind of hit the right note. So we're not planning to adjust the population caps in there, but we will take a look. It'll be another thing that we'll take a look at as the first iteration of Night Market. Speaking of that, we are going to have more iterations of Night Market, and we've already identified some really cool stuff that we potentially are going to do. So as you play through it, once it goes on live, and give us that feedback. So we take a look at potentially for the next iteration of Night Market, we might add hard modes to the instances. I know some people have requested that.
Interesting.
There's going to be some new quests in the instances that you may see or you may not see right away. So you'll have to go out and find those. And we have identified like a metric buttload of UI improvements that we want to kind of tackle for the next iteration too.
Is that an official measurement?
Yeah.
Yeah, metric buttload is not an imperial buttload. It's not an imperial buttload. It's a metric buttload. So all the Europeans and Canadians are going to love that. So, that's
metric buttload.
It on the
What?
night market front. What we're planning on.
What?
For that for now. And again, it's gonna launch here in April, not right when update 49 goes live, but later on. So jump in. Yeah, it's 29th. I wasn't sure if we'd announced, so I was like,
well, so the date is in the little ticker.
I
didn't say it.
Oops. Yeah, I mean, Mike is such a funny guy. I mean, he's always been so cool. I remember Mike from like way back in the days. Like I remember him like basically like like 8-9 years ago. He's so cool. Like he's still like the same funny guy.
It's fine. Yeah, and I know Finn, during PTS, you and the team had mentioned that you see all the feedback about the balance, and some people are like, "This is."
Question though, guys, when are we getting the flying mounts? That's what I want to know. When are we getting the flying mounts? Like, does Blizzard have some type of sole right to the flying mounts? I mean, I guess not with like the Crimson Desert coming out with dragons and stuff. Why don't we have flying mounts? There are dragons in ESO. Why don't we have flying mounts?
perfect, and some people are like, this is too hard or this is too easy, and it was kind of all over the place, which is what we want to see, honestly, and that you wanted to see once it goes live how people feel about it, because it could be a bit different. PTS and live always, I don't know, there's some differences with population and people getting in and the different crowds that hit this stuff. So it's good that you'll be watching.
We used to get that in, I mean, when we would do Dungeons and Trials on PTS, we would get feedback of like, this is too hard or this is too easy. And then when it goes to live, it kind of all evens out. So there's certain things that live is going to tell us, and live we're going to be able to see on live that you can't really see anywhere else. So we're really excited. We did make adjustments on PTS based on some of the feedback, and I mentioned some of the stuff that's going to be coming for when this launches for live that we think is going to get us into that right spot. So that's hopefully where everybody will just kind of go in there and have a good time and do what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
yeah, I'm hoping that this content
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know I've said this before in some streams, but I'm really hoping that this content is stuff that guilds can come together and be like, hey, here's something that we can go do as a like guild night, run in and have fun.
That was actually good feedback we saw on PTS too, was people were like, hey.
I think that's a really good idea. I think that's a really good idea to kind of make more, so like the social aspect of ESO, I think is like one of the like definitive, like stronger aspects of the game, to be honest. So keeping this focus on like group content that's really, really fun to do together with other players, that's gonna like incentivize guilds, incentivize groups of people to go in and play together and have a bunch of fun. I think that's really a win, because right now, I mean, a lot of like the content that is group intended in the game is kind of like people can get a little bit too like caught up in like, you don't have this type of gear, so you can't do this content, you don't have this, you don't have that. Like I don't necessarily think this is intended. And I don't know if it's like just some people that think that you need some specific things to do specific activities. So giving players like more power to just go in, do the content, have fun, and go out. I think those systems are good in one way, but also they should be kind of scaling to like, if people want to challenge themselves, like really challenge themselves, they should be able to do that as well, right? In the same type of content, but there should be versions of the content that's just gonna be like super fun. Just go in, do it, have fun, but also an aspect for the sweats,
I can do this with 6 people, right? I could do this with 4 people or 3 people from my guild, or we only have 7 people on, so we don't have enough to do a trial, and we have too many to do a dungeon. So it gives you this kind of like organic way to group up with maybe non-standard group sizes and go and do a piece of content that's going to be challenging for everybody. So that was really encouraging to see that too, because that's ideally what we would see there.
Finn, I was going to say, before we move on to the next thing, just a couple things in chat we wanted to quickly address. Currently, there is a mythic in Night Market, and my understanding is when Night Market is not available, there's going to be a way to
there's
get
secondary
that somewhere
sourcing,
else, right? Thank you.
Yep, there's secondary sourcing for that. Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
And then
absolutely.
There was one other question. If you go into Night Market with a group, will they get a new instance if all the existing instances don't have enough space for the full group of 12? Does that make sense?
So
I mean, that's a great question, because I've actually been wondering about that, especially like when it comes to battlegrounds and stuff. So you can queue up for battlegrounds specifically, like in a couple of ways, right? You can queue up. Okay, so I think I'm just going to launch the game, actually. Yes, I'm just going to launch the game here. So I can kind of explain what I mean here. So in Battlegrounds, there is a couple of ways for you to actually queue up for a battleground, for example. You can queue up as like a solo, or you can queue up as a group. So the question here is, like, with the night market, if you're going in there, you know, with a team of 12 people, so it's like you and 11 other people that you actually know from some type of guild, or I mean, they could just be your friends. If you're going in with kind of like a pre-made team, are you then? Okay, so let's hit this activity finder here. So Battlegrounds, right? So we have 4 options here, right? We have the competitive solo, right? We have the competitive group. So if you go in here solo, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, right? You go in here with 3 other random people. So you are basically 4 random people queuing, or like going into an instant, and you are basically like meeting 4 other solo. Or that's kind of like the question here. If you are queuing, if you're going in as a solo, do you have a chance to actually meet another team that's actually a pre-made group of 4? That's kind of like what they're asking here. So there is like 2 different modes that you can queue. You can queue solo, and you can queue as a group. So what the question here is, if you have a 12-man group going into the night market, are you gonna be put up against another 12-man kind of pre-made group, or are you gonna be put up against potentially like a 12-man group that's like all solo random queuers? You know, that's kind of like what they're asking, right? Okay, so we're jumping back in here.
This gets into like really, really nuts and bolts stuff on the back end, in that our zones have what we would call soft caps and they have hard caps. And soft caps for, ideally, this is how many players are in here, and once you get to this cap, you're not going to put new players in there. But then there's a hard cap, which is higher than the soft cap, and the hard cap is, I'm with a friend grouped together and I want to travel to that player, so I'm going to let those people into that instance. So I can't say one way or the other if you're going to hit
Why are
soft
people
cap or hard cap, if all 12 players, but
why are people still like keep saying in chat that Gina is hard to hear? Like she is leveled.
you should be able to get to a zone where all 12 players are. So in other words, if you're really close to that hard cap or even that soft cap, and then 11 people are put into a different instance than their own version of it, that odd man out should be able to jump to get into that instance. So that's kind of like how that works a little bit on the back end, to say we want to try and get groups together, and we have different ways that we can do that.
Great. Can you all hear me better now?
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also, well, for you all, yes, but for chat.
Yeah, you sound great. Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Honestly, you sounded fine to me earlier, but I saw the comments in chat that you sounded a little quiet.
Okay, this is better. Good.
Yeah.
I bumped up volumes and I moved it closer, so I'll just talk a little bit closer. And then going back to the mythic from Night Market, is
she was fine the whole time. What the heck?
Be available is
come on, guys.
And then afterwards is that alternative sourcing you talked about.
Yep, it's the secondary sourcing after Night Market isn't on. Yeah. Basically, we're checking for the event. Is honestly that secondary sourcing is checking. Hey, is this event happening? Is the night market happening? Yeah. If it is, It's not going to be a part of the drops, but if it isn't, then yes, it will be part of the drops. So.
Great.
Very cool.
And lastly, Night Market is free, by the way, as long as
Mount
you
racing courses.
you will be
Yes.
able to play it.
Okay, so Night Market is going to be a part of the base game. Nice. Okay, yeah. So this is a feature they are adding as a free for all. You don't have to. Excuse me. You don't have to own any type of DLC basically, or be like or have like an active subscription, I guess, to partake in this activity, which is a good thing, because I mean there are different ways, to play the game, and some people are not engaging. Are not engaging a lot in like the or they like to kind of like play like the content in chunks. So if you're playing the content in chunks, like it might be better for you to kind of like just upgrade or like or at least how it was before. Like when you get the newest chapter, you will get like everything before that as well. But if you want to be like one of the first ones that are actually playing the new content, you constantly have to kind of like buy, like the newest expansion, the newest chapter and everything. I guess they are changing this up a bit. It's going to be interesting to see like how this new system is going to work. But it seems like way more of the game is basically going to be like free for all. And it's really good to see that they are also constantly adding to what's free for all. So it's not just like an update that like certain activities are now free for all. It's like they're also gonna constantly be adding new features that's gonna be free for all, which is cool. Let's keep watching.
Yep.
Okay, so something else that you and your team have been really focusing on was challenge difficulty.
Yes.
And this is something
Challenge
that we
difficulty.
kind of touched on in January as a thing that's coming. And I know
Yes.
you had a forum post that went up not too long ago.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because I know you all have been hard at work on that.
I will talk a little bit about it, and then I'm actually going to show you guys some stuff.
Ooh.
So it is roughly
Nice.
in our internal development server, and that's where I'm going to show it here in a little bit, our internal development server. It's roughly in. It's really ugly at the moment, meaning the UI is not fully in and stuff like that. I know I've seen some questions, and some questions I wanted to address when people talk about like there's different percentages of damage you'll take and damage you'll do. Those percentages are adjustable. There's something that we could do pretty easily. We've designed and kind of built this system to add to and to adjust as we need. So we can make adjustments as needed. The goal for vestige difficulty, which is the highest difficulty, the goal for that is not for everybody to play on vestige difficulty. The goal for that is to be very, very difficult, or for players on vestige difficulty to kind of group up with each other. I'll give an example. I was testing on our internal development server, and I was on vestige, and I went and I was like on a DPS character. Let me go tap.
Okay, so what is this? What is this all about? Like, is this the overland difficulty, or is it like the night market specifically?
Tackle a group boss, a world boss out in the world in Glenumbra, the troll, and for the business, right next to Silim, the troll next to Silim.
And also, hold up, the night market is gonna be live from like April 29th to June 17th. Is that the thing? So is it not gonna be like a constant feature?
And I said, let me go test him. And his base attack was hitting me for like 65k. So like one-shotting me. And I was like, okay, that's not something that I'm going to want to try and solo. But then I log in on a tank character, and as a tank, I'm actually challenged in that fight. But I need to pay attention and do an interrupt and heal and debuff him and all this other stuff. So it became this kind of pseudo group type encounter. I know that some people are asking about overland, and we're not separating players and stuff like that. There's a couple reasons we don't separate players. I know we talked about this a little bit. Separating players, first of all, we're an MMO and we want players to play together, and not everybody is at the same skill level that everybody else is. So we want people to be able to kind of group up with the people and choose the difficulty they want.
Mhm.
But also,
Yeah, that's good.
technically, it would be a tremendous strain on the server that would be a detriment to the entire server if we were trying to instance out these zones into their own separate spaces per difficulty.
Mhm.
So there will be times, I know that people have asked and commented that there will be times where you may be fighting something and somebody will come around not on that difficulty and decide that, oh, this will be a little bit easier. But I think for the vast majority of, or at least for the majority of instances that you will be playing in these, you're talking about delves, public dungeons, story instances are a good example because those are for you anyways. Those aren't really for anybody else. You're going to get the challenge level that you want, and you're going to probably be able to find zones that you're not going to run into that.
I mean, that's gonna be like a great challenge actually, to try to like run on like higher difficulties, like straight from the beginning, basically, right? Just like straight from the beginning, of like running through the campaign, running through like all like the story quests on like a higher difficulty. That sounds great. Question is like, how are the rewards gonna be scaling? Like, is this gonna help you to level faster? That's what I'm wondering.
To people,
like if you're good enough, obviously.
People all over the place, anyways. So the hope is that players will be able to find the challenge they want, and then there will be some times where they'll run into, which is no different than it is now. If you run in and then somebody else comes in and just bum rushes and destroys something, that's kind of the experience that you could have now. So the hope is, and on those comments, I want players to. The biggest thing that we're going to see, and the best way to answer questions, is for players to play it and test it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so once it goes up to PTS, and once it becomes, once it goes live, that is going to be the best criteria. That everything right now is kind of like theory crafty. What does this mean on the back end? That kind of stuff, without actually testing it. So. By all means, you can provide feedback. It's just we're gonna really temper it for the meantime until we get really, really raw data and get people in there to experience it and stuff. But on that note, I am going to.
Ooh, we're gonna see something now.
Go in game, yes. You can share the screen. I don't actually.
I can, yes. While you do that, I just want to say, like, I don't know why everyone's spamming ESO Direct. We're not doing a giveaway or anything, so I guess you can spam it, but nothing's happening, so. But, go on.
Cool. All right. So this is, right now I am currently, and like I said, I'm going to show you, this is our internal server. I'm going to show you, I don't have any.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Like Gina acting like she's everyone's mom. Like, why are everyone spamming ESO Direct in the chat? Yeah, it's kind of like what people do in the chat, right? If one person or if a couple of people start like typing the same thing, I mean, you're just gonna have a bunch of people typing the same thing. Yeah.
Other buffs other than what normally I would have in game. So I have the thieves the thief buff boon, and I have Oaken Soul on. So you could see I have Oaken Soul, which is why I have a buff tray of buffs down here. So this is
okay. So what is he actually showing here?
The 1-bar Arcanist build. It's a pure Arcanist class, so it's not
no subclassing.
But I just brought it up. So if you see this is the current UI.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Yeah, so we have the challenge difficulty right here. Okay.
Over here on the left, for challenge difficulty, you can see it's very pretty. But this is the idea here. Yeah, we are very much showing you this early. If you see here the, I'm currently on adventure difficulty. This is your current base game of what this looks like. So I'm gonna go ahead and kill these monsters. And just melt them because that's the experience.
And you don't have any like special dev buffs on or anything.
Nope.
This is just a normal character.
Okay, so now I've changed to Vestige difficulty.
Okay.
And you can see a
Okay, so Vestige, is that that's the hardest one, right?
little bit of a difference here.
No, it's not.
Actually, I had to heal.
Yeah, but
Yeah, this kind of feels like when I'm playing kind of like my PvP character in PvE, it kind of looks like this. So if I don't set up my character to be like exclusively like PvE when it comes to like everything, this is kind of like how it feels when I'm kind of feels like, or looks like, when I'm playing my all-around character, basically.
this is taking longer.
Yeah. So
And
we're
the
gonna.
AI and the behaviors.
Yeah, like a character that I'm using both for doing like overland stuff, or like just like story stuff in PvE, but I'm also using it for PvP.
You know what's funny? Right. We're not changing anything. What's funny, but on that point, because there are people that have talked about like, oh, it'd be great if you added monster abilities. The one thing I want to point out is monsters actually have abilities.
But monsters actually have abilities. Yeah, but we very seldom see them, right?
It's just the quickness with which you kill them right now, you probably don't see them.
Yeah.
So you inherently will see more monster abilities now because they are not dying in 2 seconds. Another side effect of this that I thought was really interesting, especially as we see it in Lion's Den here, is for these one-off monsters here that are not tied to like packs, or even ones that are tied to packs, there is actually incentive to do things like Blade of Woe, because right in the gut. Sorry, lady. Because these monsters are harder, and Blade of Woe is not affected by that. So you can still do your one-shot attacks as you come around it. I'm gonna take out this pack, and then I'm gonna probably run over here and. Oh God.
Oh, bro, they're doing some serious damage to him.
Another thing is to keep in mind is we're on an internal server. There's a lot of overhead stuff on this server. So you may see like lag spikes and stuff like that.
But is this the hardest mode, or is this like the second easiest one?
I am going to cheat because I'm going to fly over to where a champion is.
Bro, that looks crazy.
The bear.
I want this power on the live server, please.
Right? I think he's
our new flying mounts. You just jump on Finn's back and
Yeah.
flies you around.
Okay.
Just gotta dangle.
So this
off
is
his
the
feet.
this is
Hold on, one of them actually said flying mounts. I mean, now it's said.
one of the champions. It also has a yellow.
Yeah, but I kind of missed. I kind of missed. Like, is this the hardest difficulty, or is it just like the one bump up
Young bear in here.
from like the normal difficulty?
Or that's the young bear, and it has a den mother. I can't promise that I won't die here, but we'll see.
All right, so you are on the hardest difficulty.
Okay, so he is actually on the hardest difficulty.
Setting possible for challenge difficulty. Trying to solo a champion. This isn't even a world boss.
No,
right?
this is just a champion.
Yeah, so what it seems like is, it seems like the monsters are doing way more damage.
Stop dodge rolling so much. No, you have to.
I have to. I have
You
to.
will die instantly.
All right, got it. But
You
if you
killed the
saw,
bear.
that was.
Yep.
Killed the bear.
Yeah, but can we see like the rewards and stuff? Like is there gonna be better rewards on this harder difficulty?
And that was actually fairly challenging. Kill this guy real quick.
Yeah, if he
But
doesn't
like I said,
dodge, he'll get one shot. So
Yeah.
he needs to do
Yeah.
that. That's why he's doing it so much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Actually,
so yeah, it is.
Go find a bear and just like don't attack it, or just like light attack.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see.
I mean,
Or
I
just
could show
anything, I
you
guess.
how quick I died to these guys.
Yeah, yeah, because usually those guys are.
If you
pretty
just light
easy.
attack.
There you go.
Oh my god.
And that's why he
Yeah.
dodged so much.
That was fast.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. So the idea being here, that gives you kind of a highlight of stuff. But now that's the hardest difficulty. You can tailor this to a different experience. And if you come in here and everybody's vestige and you have a tank and you have healers and stuff like that, you're probably going to have a little bit easier time and a better experience. But then it's going to feel like every public dungeon almost feels like a group dungeon in that regard and stuff.
Mhm.
So that's ideally where we get to. So we get players to tackle these challenges kind of in new ways. And again, you're going to see more abilities from monsters because they have those abilities, you just don't see them right now.
Finn, let's say you're in a group and each person in your group has a different difficulty set. How does that work?
Well, the debuff is on yourself. So I would take 600% more damage in vestige.
Okay, so that's the thing. Like we're actually being affected by a debuff, taking 6 times more damage.
But anybody else would only take X percentage more damage and do X percentage less damage, based on their own individual preference. So it's not. It's not like it affects the group or anything like that. We wanted that to be an experience, and I'll give you an example.
Yeah, so it almost seems like if you bump it up from like normal to like the next one, that's gonna like double, or it's gonna give, like, the monsters are gonna do 2 times the damage, and I guess the next step is gonna be like 4 times the damage, and then like the last step is like 6 times, right?
Because I've played with my wife before, and I'm more experienced in the game. So I would go through, and she would say, "Oh, I feel like this is a loot simulator because I'm behind you, and I'm just looting bodies because they're all dead before I get to it." That's an experience where we could say I could throw myself on Master, which is the one right below Vestige, or Vestige, and she could play on base game, and we could still get a fun experience where we get to play together, and we're both challenged in our own ways.
I mean, that's really interesting, actually. But I wonder if this is something that you can just like switch on the go. So let's say that you've queued up for a dungeon, and it's like you don't want that experience of just like flying through. You want it to be like a little bit more challenging. And you can actually kind of like self-inflict yourself with like a harder difficulty to make like the experience more balanced. I wonder if that's something you can do.
And that's the goal for that.
Now I know there's been a lot of feedback about the rewards that people get for increasing the difficulty.
Yes.
Golden XP, you get more of each, depending on, the words, whatever difficulty that you set is.
You get,
oh my God.
Yes, you get more golden XP depending on the.
Yeah, but does that mean that you're gonna get like the same? Like if you're doing the hardest, are you gonna get 6 times the XP? 6 times the gold?
Difficulty that you've selected, yes.
Is that like a starting point for you all?
Yes.
Just to kind of see
very much
how it goes?
So people have accurately pointed out that there's ways that you could potentially abuse the system, for lack of a better word, or use the system to gain some rewards and stuff like that. And that's part of the consideration that we have around golden XP. As an initial reward structure, we wanted players to be able to get rewarded, but solving the exploit kind of situation is one of those things that we'll want to layer on increased rewards in the future. A good example, though, of something that is going to go live a couple weeks probably after challenge difficulty is we're going to launch a Golden Pursuit campaign that is geared towards challenge difficulty. So you'll have specific.
Yeah, so I actually didn't know like that the Golden Pursuit was not going to be something that's like when you finish it, there's instantly going to be like another one. So I've been kind of looking for my golden pursuit the last couple of days, because I finished it. I think it was 2 days ago or something. I finished like the current golden pursuit, and I just like couldn't understand why. I just couldn't understand why there is why kind of like the golden pursuit just disappeared. I'm gonna have to go get myself some paper, my dudes, because my nose is a little bit runny, so I need to blow my nose. Be right back. Okay. Let's keep watching, my dudes.
golden pursuits that are looking at the ways that you engage with the challenge difficulty system and stuff. We're still working out kind of the details and the very specifics of that, but there is going to be a golden pursuit campaign that we're going to do that, and the system is built for us to be able to do that in the future. So we'll have potentially quests that say, you know, that will give different rewards based on, or different experiences based on whichever challenge difficulty you're engaging with and stuff like that. So, yeah, this is the first blush, the first stab at it, so to speak, and then we're going to take a look at players and how they're engaging it and what they're doing and stuff like that, and then find ways to layer onto the system to make it even more enticing and stuff.
Awesome. And this is
And you
going to
can
be available
change-
to everybody, right? Like when it launches?
Yes,
Like you
this
don't
is
have to
again, this is a
unlock it or
base game
something?
feature.
Yeah.
No, you do not, and
No
you'll be able
cost.
to. And I guarantee you, this UI is going to look a lot better. There's also some cool things that are going to be in here that aren't in here. Actually, when you mouse over, or when you select, you have this target selection. If you see the at the top, the monster's nameplate and health, there will be an indicator next to it that tells you what difficulty you're on. So
Oh,
you will see
okay.
stuff like, oh shoot, yeah, she's about to. So you'll see if you're on a higher difficulty, you'll know just by every monster you over select, it will tell you like, oh, I'm on vestige difficulty or something. We want to basically hit you over the head with it so that you know kind of what difficulty. Load screens are going to display your difficulty in the bottom left as you load into a specific zone. So to indicate that you're at whatever difficulty this character is on. And it is character specific, it's not account specific.
Can you see
where and when can you
Sorry.
where and
ahead.
when can you change the difficulty? Like when
Yeah.
you're running around. I saw somebody
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like, is this something we can just change on the fly, or do we have to like do it like before we enter a specific zone or a specific like instance? Like, how does it work?
in chat asking like if I wanted
Yeah,
to
so
have it
you
on
just
one
hit
setting
C.
for dolmens.
Okay.
Yeah, you just hit C and it brings it up, and your challenge difficulty is right there. If you have rewards, there will be a separate indicator that you could select between like level up rewards or challenge difficulty in order to accommodate for that. And
So basically, like the short answer here is like you can just do it like on the go.
you just select this difficulty and you hit change difficulty, and then you are that difficulty.
Yeah.
I think
That's cool.
A 10-second cooldown, just so people aren't like swapping back and forth like super rapidly, but it's only 10 seconds. So you'll be able to. So that's a good point too. Is if you walk up and you're like, oh, I'm going to take on this world boss in Vestige, and you take in there, and you get hit once and you die, and you're like, I'm going to dial that back down. We don't want to lock.
Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see like how to like compare like for example, one specific boss on like the different challenge difficulties. It's going to be really interesting to see like the difference, right? To see like, yeah, okay, so I mean, like if it's just like a straight up like math thing, like it's just going to be like twice as much, 3 times as much, and like 4 times as much. Or like, no, sorry, like twice as much, 4 times as much, and 6 times as much. That's gonna be for like the XP and the gold, right? But what about the items? What about the other items that are associated? Drops. Is it gonna increase the chance for better drops as well?
You in for too long. We want you to be able to kind of experience that. You cannot change your difficulty while in combat, though. So you have to be out of combat in order to change that difficulty.
Awesome.
Another note is PvP zones are excluded, as well as
yeah, Brian Wheeler is nodding.
Have their own bespoke
Yep.
difficulty, trials, dungeons.
Not gonna work in PvP zones.
It does not apply in there.
All right. Yeah. Well, I think we should move on. We still have 3 other devs sitting here that are waiting to give updates. Finn, your updates were lovely as usual. We'll have a lot more information about challenge difficulty, and it'll be on the PTS at some point, so everyone can kind of try it out.
Yeah. Real quick, I do see a comment. How will we change it on console? There actually is an entire. It was part of the design. There's an entire console UI element too. That's a drop down basically from your window. So there is that consideration. This isn't just a PC thing. This is literally there's an entire separate console part.
Awesome. Yeah, and again, the UI that Finn was showing, that is not final. We're not going to have.
Yeah, they keep calling him Finn. Like his name is Mike Finnegan, but they keep calling him Finn. A little bit confusing, but yeah.
Red question marks for you to select your stuff.
We are not. Yeah.
All right, Jason, you're in the hot seat, and you're up next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bro, Jason has been looking like he's been like falling asleep this entire time. So yeah, about time, Jason, wake up here.
I bring information that we haven't really talked about yet that takes place after season 0, but I also have been warned not to give away too much, so I'm trying to keep
just a tease.
Yeah. For anyone who has noticed, yes, Jess and I are in the same room. Like literally, that's my hand right there. So yeah, I've seen that comment a couple times.
Oh, they are actually. Oh, they are actually in the same room. Yeah, I guess they live together.
But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming in season 1. So after the night market, as well as I brought a couple of fun little gifts to show off. So yeah, before we kind of dive into it, though, one of the things I want to just bring up and kind of discuss, because we've seen it a lot, is where's the new zone, right? Like, are we getting as much content if we're not doing a brand new zone in the first couple of seasons? And one of the things I want to talk a little bit about is kind of our new design shift and philosophy of what we're doing. So
yeah, that's really good. Like, we need some more, or I at least, and hopefully you guys also need a little bit more information about this, like the changes that are happening to kind of like the structure of how they are really releasing the content.
Yes, new zones will be happening, right? Like, we're not going to ever get away from that. But one of the things that we are looking to do is not only expand the storyline and kind of keep that moving forward, because we have committed to actually moving the timeline forward. We're sticking to that. Every release takes place further in the timeline, so we can set up more continuous stories and things like that. So we're still going to have lots of quests and things like that that push the timeline forward and give people, exactly what they want. But on top of that, one of the goals of the team is to get a little bit more away from the standard formula of a lot of things, which we'll learn more about in the coming weeks. But we want to kind of expand the types of content in the game, add a little bit more breadth to the world, more things to do, new types of content systems. So, well, it might not be like, hey, here's a giant zone and you have X objectives, delves, world bosses, things like that. We're still adding like brand new storylines, new quests, but we're also adding content that's going to be in the form of some new systems that we'll talk a little bit about. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a little hint of a couple of them that are coming with season 1. Again, without kind of giving too much away. You may have all seen these like season 1 deck or whatever we showed during one of the official reveals, but there is 3 new things on there that were a little different. And yep, Gina's about to show off some cool stuff too. Oh, I got confused there for a second. I didn't know it was coming. So you haven't seen that yet. But a couple of the things that we're doing is you may have seen things called rumors, favors, and something known as the Sage's Vault. These are all new types of content that we're introducing to the game that'll come out alongside of the Thieves Guild and the Sheogorath quest lines and stuff like that too. So without giving too much away, because again, we're going to dive into a lot of details about that soon. I will say favors are a new type of repeatable content that has like a narrative hook to it, that tells us kind of overarching story as you do more of them, and there's more things to do that send you all over the world. Again, try not to get too detailed without.
Yeah, I mean that's really good, I think, because like if you are so, especially like for me right now as a returning player, I mean there's so many zones, there's so many things that I like should go and do, but it's kind of like missing a little direction, or like the different if the or if one like super fun kind of like daily mechanic or daily quest is gonna help me with like getting around the world and getting more stuff done. I think that's gonna be like really helpful and really cool. Because right now I feel like I'm just traveling from like zone to zone, so like I've experienced a lot of the story before, so I'm basically not playing the different zones for like the story. I'm playing the different zones for like the skill points, the XP, and just like the, you know, like the level grind or the champion point grind, or yeah, just like, yeah, mainly just because of like um the skill points, so I can like the skill points and the champion points, so I can basically like make my character stronger, right? And unlock like the crafting stations and stuff like that as well. But I kind of seen most of the content before, so if it's not like super new content to me, I'm not gonna spend like hours and hours following the story. I'm just gonna want to try to like get through it as quick as possible. But when that's the approach, it's really important, I feel, to have some like like to have some incentives to go different places as well. So like we have these different hubs, or I have these different hubs that I kind of go for these specific things. So like right now, I usually go to Blackwood for my crafting because I feel like it's so easily like set up. Um, and obviously we go to Stormwind or Wayrest for like the pledges and stuff. But apart from that, it's like um, I don't necessarily feel like the daily quests in the different zones are like necessarily, you know, exciting enough for me to kind of, so if I don't have like a very good reason for like doing them, I'm just gonna skip it, which I think is a shame. But if there was like more um incentives of the daily quests or some other system to kind of like really go around and kind of like explore a zone, not not necessarily just for like, excuse me, not necessarily just for like exploration of the zone, but just for like an easier clear of like everything you basically want to do in a zone. So if they are creating or developing like a system like that, that's really interesting. Let's keep watching.
Giving too much away. Rumors is a brand new type of content system that you're going to find hidden throughout the world that are different than quests. They make you use your brain a little bit more. They're not really
Okay, so like puzzles.
guided as much as quests are, and I'll leave it at that. Think of them as kind of like riddles and things that you're going to have to figure out that are much more narratively complex. And then the Sage's Vault, I know people have talked.
I mean, as long as the rewards for doing them is worth it, people will be doing them, I think. So I think the kicker here is really like the loot that you are gonna be able to get from it, right? Because like people need a reason. People need a reason to do the content.
Talked about that, asked about that. It is a brand new type of content, something very experimental that we've really never done before. That can have a lot of replayability built into the system with a story and everything like that. So I will leave that there at a very high level for that stuff. But there's a lot coming, and a lot of that content is going to fill in things like we would normally do, like the delves and stuff like that, right? Rather than just do 6 more delves where we always know what we're going to get, we're trying to add more different types of content and new systems and spread it all throughout the game. So there's new things for people to do, and then continue to add on and create more of those systems.
Yeah, so like basically making the content that you can do in each zone more like like more content in the different zones, right? So the way it is right now, you know, we have like the main storyline for the zone, right? And then we have like all the side quests, and then there's the delves, and usually there is a public dungeon. There are bosses, crafting stations, and like points of interest. Like having more of those like points of interests being like super interesting, like side activities. They could be like some could be like very specific for the zones. Others could be like things that you recognize from other zones as well. But more stuff like the what's it called, dolmens, like the like world event stuffs. I think that would be cool. Like more variations in each zone. I mean, they are varied across like a lot of the zones, but like for the specific zone, more in like the more in each zone basically
as we go along. So hopefully that helps address some of that. I don't know if there's any questions before I dive into some of the more specific stuff that popped up, or if we should just keep plowing forward.
I mean, there's tons of questions, but nothing I think that we're going to talk about right now. It's just a little taste of what you all are working on, and yeah, we'll definitely get into more details.
Cool.
Soon, later.
Okay.
At some point.
Yeah, soon.
Bro, I wonder if they're gonna save Mr. Wheeler for last. I wonder if they're gonna save like the PvP stuff for last.
Stay tuned in the coming weeks.
Yes.
So to give a little tease about some of the quest stuff, I'm going to jump to the Shio stuff first because we had some, that's where I'm supposed to start. Never mind.
So jump right to where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. I'm right on track. With the Shio Gorath quest line that we have coming, it is a full quest line. It's like a main story quest line length. That's going to bring you all around the world and all to like a lot of pre-existing zones. But the cool thing about it is we're adding a bunch of stuff to the world. So as we continue to develop, we're upgrading zones in a way, adding new locations to zones, kind of building up the world to make it feel more alive. So as you go to different places in the world, like East March or Vardenfell and other different areas, there's going to be brand new locations that have spun up that are involved with the quest that you can go explore. And that's one of the big things that we're going to continue to do is just adding to the world, adding more stuff to it to make some of these older zones just have more things to do in them.
Yeah. And I think that's really important, what Jason is saying here, to be honest. Like, I think that's really, like, that's something that really needs to have some focus, basically. Because it seems like for quite many years now, the focus has been on, like, new zones, like, get new zones in there, like, very big focus on, like, expanding the map. And that has made like the newer released zones kind of feel samey, very like samey. Also like quite open. Like the only thing that you're kind of like running into from like running from point A to point B is like a couple of packs of monsters. Like that's it. And maybe you have like a couple of materials. Like something you can mine, and like a flower you can pick, but it's just not enough, right? So it would be good if they can get kind of like the zones in a or to a place where it's like you will get like a little bit carried away. Like if you go in this direction or this direction or that direction or this direction, like there's gonna be stuff to do, right? I think that's what people are really looking for. So yes, you have like an objective to get from like A to B, but it's what kind of happens between going from A to B that's like the real adventure, right?
So a couple little concept pieces that I brought just to show off if you have those queued up, Gina.
Do.
Okay, what's this?
The first one is a new puzzle that you're going to encounter during the Sheogorath quest. It's this kind of cool spinning head statue that will be involved in the quest line. And again, these are like early concepts. We just want to show and just give you a little preview of things to.
But adding to the Sheogorath quest, so okay, so this is adding to what's already there, adding to a quest line that's already there, right?
To come, it just so you can kind of see what we're working on. A lot of these are still again in progress. Some may change before they get into the game, but the whole point of this just kind of hang out and talk about what we've been working on and show some of this cool stuff. So we have these, and then
hey Jason,
the other,
I feel like I need
yeah.
like either a banana to scale or like a character to scale. Like how big or small is this thing? Can you go
I
into the mouth?
No, so
Okay.
there's some things that I believe go into the mouth. So I believe this is going to be like half height of the player. They're still working on the scaling. This is the fun thing about talking about this stuff early is I haven't actually seen this in game. They're modeling it right now. So I think the intent though is about somewhere around player, a little less than a player height.
Oh, people are guessing what goes in their mouth. Cheese, a banana.
Yeah.
Banana.
I love it.
Awesome.
And then the other thing that's part of the Shio quest is drum roll. We have a new tome shell creature that is Sheogorath kind of oriented, has a brand new skin and new like fun butterfly VFX and things like that. This little guy actually plays a pretty important role throughout the quest line, which is fun.
But what quest line is it talking about right now? Like, is it new content, or like I don't understand what type of quest line is it talking about? Is it like an upgraded Sheogorath quest line thing, or is it like a brand new one?
And again, we kind of designed a brand new one from the ground up, adding a Sheogorath and Shivering Isles flair to everything. So
okay.
you do that, you're going to see a lot of this guy getting into lots of mischief and causing problems and all
Very
that
cute.
fun stuff.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So switching gears a little bit, just to kind of give an early preview of the Thieves Guild content coming out. This has a little bit more information. First, well, actually, can we jump right to the character screenshot? Pull that up. So
y'all.
this, yeah, there you go. Thanks. Oh, right on top.
God. Oh God.
Oh no, you're
It's
showing.
breaking.
Oh no,
Here we
you're
go.
showing all the preview.
Showing everything.
This is live, folks. This is live.
Yeah,
That's what happens when we go out of order. It's like chaos.
So for anyone who doesn't
Hey, it's live.
this character, Quinn from the original Thieves Guild is coming back. She's got a new outfit, and we're actually doing a sequel to the Thieves Guild. So this is kind of, it runs parallel, well, not parallel, it's in a different location. It's a base game location, hint, hint. That may have also, I saw someone mention something about an art refresh, and
Yeah, so basically, like they are kind of like adding. So that seems like the thing, right? That they're adding to, or with this specifically, adding to like the Thieves Guild kind of quest line, I guess.
Still doing that with zones? The answer is yes. The zone this takes place in also does have a little bit of a refresh. But yeah, Quinn is basically in this new area, starting up a new part of the Thieves Guild, and I'm not going to give too much away, but she's one of the main characters with a whole new cast of characters as you build the new guild up and kind of go through some fun stuff that you're going to have to deal with. Other things, just to kind of call out too, we have a new logo for the Thieves Guild. Hopefully now that one's in the right place. So this is going to be our upcoming logo for the new Thieves Guild. The one on the left is the one you'll see in game. The one on the right, I can't give any spoilers about it, but this is kind of going to be their variation of the the organization's logo for this. And then
Bro, is it gonna be a new faction?
The third fun little screenshot I brought is some new interior designs that we've been designing, new building types, new ways to hide behind stuff, more stuff to hide in. We did a big pass just on kind of a general, like, more interactivity with the Thieves Guild system and like stealth and things like that. So again, we'll dive into a lot more details with that as we get close.
Yeah, like the Thieves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood and the Mages Guild and like all these kind of in-game guilds, or yeah, like story-focused guilds that you can actually join, factions, if you will, like in the game. They are super cool. Like, I really hope they're going to be adding more of them, to be honest.
Closer to the next couple.
Imagine a traders guild, like a faction, so that you don't actually have to be like a part of like a players traders guild, but just like an in-game players guild. Sorry, not an in-game players guild, but like an in-game traders guild. So you don't have to kind of like be a part of like a guild, a players guild that has a trader, but you are actually kind of, yeah, you can still like put stuff up for sale. I mean, that will be interesting.
Couple of weeks. The other last thing I just want to throw out really quick and then take any remaining questions is one of the things I want to call out is because we are moving the timeline forward, one of the things we are investigating is giving little warning pop-ups when you start something maybe out of the chronological order. So a good example here is for Thieves Guild 2, as I'll call it. If you try to do this quest first, you can if you want, but it'll give you a little warning pop-up saying that this is a sequel in the story and point you to the first quest if you want to do it all in order. So we're trying to look at more things that help people play things in chronological order if they want, and or that way, you know, it gives them more opportunities if they don't happen to know. We're gonna look at that throughout the game as well, just to try to help out in ways that we can, for those people who do want to play in the specific order that we kind of released in, and the story kind of flows in that way, giving people more opportunities to have a reference or something that makes it easier for them to do that. So
that's cool.
Yeah, that's all the goodies. Again, we're gonna have a lot to talk about in the next month or two, and we'll probably have a lot more in-depth chats. I had to stay very high level with a lot of this stuff, but I just want to reassure everyone there is a lot of content coming out. It's gonna have some new forms and some new content systems that we'll be talking about soon, but we have a lot of good things planned.
Excellent. Thanks, Jason.
Bro, please save Mr. Wheeler for last.
Well, shall we? Let's move on to Wheeler and Alec. We're going to talk a little bit about some combat stuff. We had a lot of DK changes that were on the PTS recently, a lot of iterations, a lot of feedback.
Okay, it's actually Brian's up next.
Why don't you all
PvP, my dudes.
Start with DK stuff, just kind of recapping where we're at.
Yeah, we're gonna kind of cover a bit of, I know Jason and Finn were talking more future stuff. We're talking like very recent past and very upcoming, very close future here. So starting with PTS, obviously this was the DK's run of the class refresh. We've had several articles about the DK getting updated, about our long-term combat plans, our long-term PvP plans. But in the short term, we kind of wanted to get back.
Well, I hope there's more planned for like PvP than just like class refresh stuff. Like, I hope there are more like game modes and like PvP activities in the planning.
Back in touch with everybody about the process for PTS, as how the feedback comes from you all, how we process it, and then how we actually turn that into, you know, changes that we do during the PTS cycles. And also making it a little bit more clear, like there are some limitations that we, you know, have to obey, but to ensure the sanctity of the build. You know, we don't want to make some sort of recursive ability that crashes the server, which we try to avoid as much as we can. Like we showed with Mike's internal dev, we try to avoid that stuff there. But sometimes we hit a mouse wheel incorrectly and things end up on PTS. So there are some limitations of what we got to deal with and avoid. But with the DK, there were lots of feedback that we got first week, second week, and then third week we were able to really iterate on some of those, and we're going to dive into a couple of those. There will be a little bit of some long-term planning that we discuss near the end, but bear with us for a little bit as we kind of go down a little bit of journey of some of the changes we've done. But I guess first off would be mainly Earth Spike Mantle. That one got some feedback as not being so crunchy and satisfying, and Alec did a good job working with the team on that. If you could maybe go into some details about how that went about, Alec.
Yeah, so there was quite a few bits about Earth Spike Mantle, which used to be spiked armor, where you have these big kind of bulky spikes pop out of your back. We decided to update the model to make it look a lot cleaner, a lot nicer, high definition. But I think that our first iteration, we were really, really conservative with how much space it took up on your body, because we get a lot of conflicting feedback about you want to look cool, but you also don't want to hide your armor and have it be too distracting where you can't see all of the cool stuff that you can do to your character. So we started small, and then we saw a lot of feedback that this doesn't feel DK. This isn't big and imposing and scary. So we talked with the team, and we found some cool adjustments where we could really make those spikes come further out of your back, so you have that like bulk or size to your character, so you feel bigger and more intimidating. And we also worked with audio. Lucas has been doing a phenomenal job with audio with the refresh stuff. He's our primary lead on that. And he went back and made some sound adjustments to help get that crunch back in there, so you get more of a satisfying feel on activation. So lots of looking at little details and finding how we can turn dials and knobs to really up things to 11 where we can without completely reworking things, because PTS we're really restricted to what we can do without introducing a lot of risk, as Brian was talking about, where when we introduce new things, that needs to go through testing, and we need to make sure it works in a bunch of cases. And when we do that in the case of PTS, that means we don't have a lot of turnaround time to test and make sure that we're doing that properly. So we tend to be a little bit more conservative with what we can do and try and fix what we have versus just throwing it out and saying, oh, let's start over again from scratch.
Yeah. Even in that case, there are sometimes we can make changes to duration of abilities without needing to alter the effects or alter the audio. Well, sometimes the audio, because you got to extend a little bit. But there are some things that we can adjust week to week that are like smaller things like that. Giving access to a major or a minor, but even that can have some spell knockoff effects to it. So just know that when we are getting the feedback during PTS cycle, we're trying to bear in mind the best bang for the buck, because we need to make sure, even if we change like the radius of something, we need to involve the effects team. We probably need to involve audio for spatial audio considerations, and not just the numerical balance of, well, it's bigger, does it need to hit less, does it need to hit harder, ticking faster or not. But like speaking of the dot rate tick, that was something else we also got some feedback on regarding the dot timers, mainly I guess in the vicinity of like Searing Claw and Dragonfire. You could probably touch on some of that too, Alec.
Yeah, so one of the things that we wanted to do is really emphasize Dragonites as being the attrition class that uses a lot of damage over time effects. And we actually went back on some of the changes to damage over time effects, where in the past we tried to make them longer so they were easier to use, less demanding to upkeep, but that didn't really feel in spirit of Dragonite, where that's like a focus of their kit, where you want to be emphasizing that in gameplay. So we actually went back to our original model with shorter timers, and we gently increased that damage, because doing so can really lead to a lot of layered damage. But we immediately got the feedback of like, okay, well, this is great, but in the context of a rotation, when I'm pressing all these other buttons, now that I need to sacrifice that operational cost of being on the GCD.
Yeah, so what I think is really, really interesting about like the class reworking and stuff, is like the Dragon Knight is one of like the most popular classes. Like it's always been like a super popular class. So it's kind of interesting to. I'm just trying to understand why are they starting kind of like with like refreshing something that's already like super popular and working really well. Why not like start with the things that are kind of like not as cool?
I'm not feeling this damage increase. So we went back and looked at things of how they interact with like a full rotation, and
I mean, I guess they have to start somewhere, right? But yeah.
how that can be augmented by player choice and like what morphs you take and stuff like that, or what item sets you use to extend or reduce the duration. And we really just went all in on the damage to see, okay, well, how far can we push this before this becomes problematic? And I think we found a really good spot where these dots for the Dragonite feel very different in terms of they're crunchier, they're shorter, but they do a lot of damage in that time window. So if you can keep up that pressure, it's really satisfying to like melt through enemies.
Okay, so with the like the class refreshing, it's not only like the visuals and like the animations they are actually improving, they're actually also like tweaking like the damage numbers and stuff. It seems like. I mean, that's interesting.
But you have to make a concession for that. You have to work for it. It's more demanding.
Yeah. And I mean, on that, you're talking about dot rotation, and one of the things that we looked into was, Lava Whip, getting through a lot of usability changes, not just the effects and audio. There's a story about Flame Whip and how we went through various discussions internally where actually, went to Texas Ren Fair and recorded one of the guys there using fire whips and brought that back and showed that to the effects artists. Like, okay, this is what a fire whip actually looks like with, Kevlar going and everything. They were like, that's really badass. So that kind of echoes a bit of where we try to blend a touch of reality with the effects. But one of the things we talked about was like keyframe animation versus motion capture. And we found that keyframe animation, like while motion capture made things look realistic, like bodies not being able to turn and tweak various ways, we found that the keyframe animations, especially with some of these abilities that have very iconic looks like Lava Whip, we leaned more into sort of like making certain poses hit to really nail that crunchy and that cool feel and vibe that Alec was talking about. But with that, like, there were some obviously balance tweaks that we did with Whip. But one of the other ones that's sort of like an iconic ability was Dragonite Standard. That one also went through a little bit of feedback changes about how the damage felt flat. And if you could go into some details on that one, Alec.
The standard, that's like the big banner, right? That comes like crashing down to the ground.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're trying to work on with class refresh is better designing each skill line within a class to account for the world of subclassing. A lot of our classes don't have like a modular design to how their skill lines work, and that creates a lot of imbalances in the subclassing world where some things like Herald of the Tome or Assassination or Animal Companions, which really focus on a specific role, become kind of no-brainers of like, oh, hey, why wouldn't I take this skill line that has everything I need versus this skill line that has one or two things. So we're trying to do a better job at diversifying what each skill line offers, so there's meaningful choice for every build and there's something for everyone, but there isn't everything you need to just like create this case of this is the clear winner. And Dragonite Standard created a case where in Ardent Flame we have a lot of really powerful abilities like Lava Whip and Inferno and Searing Claw.
I mean, it's all about balance, right? So this is all about like a balance aspect. So I mean, we don't want it to be like we don't want the situation to be like there's going to be like an obvious choice, right? We want to mix and match and try different things, and we want things to be viable, right?
So that created a case where, okay, we're starting to get to that edge where there's a lot of damage in here, and that's getting into the same problem that players are experiencing where it's like there's not a lot of diversity in if I'm min-maxing, because there are so many clear choices. So we looked at finding ways to change current abilities for what they work as, and finding a different role or like purpose for them without sacrificing too much of their identity. And Dragon Knight Standard was a big one for that because DK Standard is a huge, like, iconic call down, this sick ass banner. You do a lot of damage. It does a bunch of fire damage and empowers your damage. Really, really satisfying. But when we were playtesting, we found like if we left that alone, well, Ardent Flame was going to become a mandatory skill line. So we looked at it and said, okay, well, how can we retain this sensation of calling in this banner? What does that mean? Like when your allies see a banner, how are they reacting? And we said, okay, well, what if we keep this in the damage realm, but shift it away from raw damage and made it more about support? And in doing so, that created this case where, like, now when you see your homie drop a banner, you're like, I gotta go in that.
Go.
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
And it still does the same thing at the end of the day, which is it does damage.
I mean, yeah, that's like super important. I think like it has to be kind of obvious, right? Because right now a bunch of these like synergies and these like extra effects that you can get from like your teammates, kind of by triggering them, they are kind of like you kind of see that you can trigger them, you know, by hitting the button at the right time, basically, right? But you don't necessarily like feel the effect of it. So I hope that's something that's gonna be like a little more like visual and impactful, to be honest.
It's just doing it.
I mean, obviously, when you're doing the skill yourself, you are noticing it. But when you're triggering like someone else's, you know, synergies or special effects, or you know, I mean, you don't necessarily like feel it as much
in a different way. But obviously, that still creates a case where if you knew what Standard of Might did before, you probably liked that a lot, and that sensation of loss is definitely felt. So we looked at some of the feedback and tried to find a way to make sure that the numbers were satisfying enough. So we went back and made a lot of improvements to that morphin specific because that was where most of the feedback was, to make sure that it still felt good as the caster of the banner, that you felt strong when you were inside of it, without getting into the case where it's like, okay, this is the best ultimate in the game and I never need anything else. Just so we keep that diversity.
Yep. I mean, speaking on that diversity aspect a little bit, there was some feedback, obviously, outside of Vengeance, where there's the PvP specific tailored for that content for the performance. We still have to deal with PvE and PvP for Greyhost, Imperial City, the rest of the game. They share the same abilities, and we know that, you know, sometimes they can butt heads in terms of wants and needs from PvP versus PvE. Obviously, in PvP, it's fun to knock people back off bridges, but in PvE, you know, you don't want to necessarily knock people back away from you when you're trying to be, you know, a tank or hop into the fight, and you want to keep people centered. So in those cases, as well as with like corrosive armor, onslaught, we started to look at things with PvP and PvE eyes, and that's where DK Leap, we changed it to the, I guess now infamous, knocked up patch note that was out there of, instead of knocking people back, it knocks them up, and people were like, what? But anyway, that's the fun giggle of when we get to Rage Pass notes, we get to have fun with it from time to time. But that's another case where we look at PvP feedback, we look at PvE feedback, and we try to find the balance in between this thing. Specifically with, again, with Leap, outside of like week 1, week 2, where we knew the wings were jacked up, we knew we were getting that feedback of, hey, we don't want to knock things away, we want to keep them close. So we changed it to knock up instead of knock back. One of the other bits of feedback, and Alec had a line about this, that was lovely internally, but didn't translate well when we tried to have broader messaging regarding how players were saying abilities felt a little bit slower. So I want to give Alec the opportunity here to sort of explain a little bit more in depth why some abilities may have felt slower, but still retain the same timings.
Yeah. So this gets into a lot of stuff about like perception and psychology and how the brain works. And I'm going to try and keep a lot of the science terms out of here because this is actually what I used to study in the past. But effectively, what we've done with a lot of this refresh, when we went back and worked on animations, we looked at things like launch frames. We looked at how animation canceling works in our game and why that system exists as it does. We use a system called hit deferral, where whenever you press a button that's instantaneous, an animation will send a message to your client that says, hey, let's wait for X amount of time until this ability has launched, until you get a frame, before we're going to play the event, even though that the event has already happened. So we looked at a lot of those
skill
things and
delay.
tried to find a better way to like smooth out information, because when you press a button, a lot of things happen. So I think the biggest one that was referenced was the Dragonite Chains of Flame, originally called Fiery Grip. That was one of the abilities that was noted as is like, this feels slower. And what we actually did was we kept all of the internal, like under the hood, the ability speed, the time it takes to impact, the minimum travel time, all of these like little details that influence that kind of perception. We left those all the same. But what we did was we tried to break them apart more evenly on the ability level so that they would play in more sequence rather than simultaneously. And what that does is it gives animation and sound effect and VFX more opportunity.
Bro, I think Finn or Mike, I think he's actually playing as they are talking here. Like I can hear some sounds from the game, and it seems like he's freaking locked in.
Hook off of key specialized events rather than trying to push everything at the same exact time. And by doing so, you create delineated or punctuated points that you can reference, that your brain can react to and be like, okay, I heard my character grunt, I heard the chain slip out, I heard the impact, I heard the character respond to me. And by doing that, your brain is now able to kind of process more delineated moments. And by doing so, it's like time starts to slow down for you, where your brain is able to filter all of this stuff and make sense of it more in sequence. And then that creates this sense of like, well, time feels like it's slowing down, so the ability feels slower. Even though it's all happening at the same exact time as that it was, it's just that you have more information available to you that you're able to make sense of and process in that moment, instead of just like four things happening at once and your brain's like, what was that? So that's a lot of the stuff that we looked at with animations and launch frames, and like, how do we still keep animation canceling and this really sick, smooth gameplay, making things feel really reactive and dynamic to what you're doing in the game world, while also making sure that we're giving more opportunity to make sense of the world, because ESO is really fast. So that means that we have to be really careful with what we're telling you, what information we're giving you, so that you can feel more informed and more knowledgeable about how you should use that to your advantage and have fun in combat. So that's kind of the reason why some of these abilities feel slower, is we've broken them up so that there's more distinct things happening instead of it all kind of flooding out in front of you at the same time.
A little bit of breathing room, as we say.
Right.
Yeah. One of the things we mentioned earlier, and this is where we're going to get into some sneak.
But what does that mean? Like, does that mean like the skill delay is gonna get longer?
Sneak peek territory for the future. We know that feedback about the DK, while positive, is still has the feedback out there that this doesn't necessarily complete numerically for the top tier min max players out there. And we've sort of hinted that we are working on a system. And I guess Gina, if you could bring up this screenshot, we could probably pull a little bit of the curtain back on this now, where we're planning on giving every class a quote class mastery skill line, where we're going to give you abilities to
hold up, class mastery.
through passives, give you some more power that you would get if you pure class, is what we're sort of calling it, or what other people call solo classic, where you just stick to your regular class. There's a couple examples here on the screen, but Alec, if you wanted to go in some of like the philosophy behind this outside of just we're trying to make up some power gap for you, like there's definitely some under the hood stuff that we're looking at here for whether you're just a broad-based player or tanking support DPS.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that we've seen since subclassing came out has been this idea that it feels like it's a downgrade to stay true to your class, despite having like these strong kind of emotional attaches where you really might like the identity of a certain thing. But playing it feels notably weaker. And part of that comes with just like the territory of the more choice and power we give you to make your own decisions, the more likely you are to tweak things to your power level of what you're looking for. And that's a good thing. That's a part of the feature, and that's what we wanted is let's give players more control, make them make their own builds and do cool things with that. But at the same time, we don't want to create a case where it feels like a loss or the wrong decision to stay true to your class. So we've
Yeah, but this is something you can do even though you're subclassing, right? You can still get these class masteries, right? Or are they gonna be locked? Or so is the class masteries only gonna be working if you just stick to the class and don't subclass?
been talking for a while about finding ways to do that without just nerfing subclassing, because we don't want to create that case or that sensation. So what we've been investigating is creating a case where if you stay true to your class,
Yeah, if you stay true,
and you've mastered it, so you've reached level 50 in all of your skill lines and you don't actively subclass, you gain access to this skill line where you can pick 2 passives from. And that
you can pick 2? Okay, so you can only pick 2 of them. Okay, so you have 5 choices, but you can only pick 2.
That's just how it works right now. Things are very experimental. This is going to be something that we toy with and see, do we need to grow it or keep it simpler? This is very aimed at solving, again, that problem of making sure that staying true to your class still feels impactful.
Okay, so we're actually gonna get like we're gonna get like an option here to subclass or do class mastery, basically. So yeah, I think that's gonna be like a tricky, a tricky thing to hit, like making the mastery and the subclassing feel like balanced.
At that numerical or like power level where it's like, okay, I don't have to run Fate Carver. I don't have to sacrifice these abilities that I like because these ones are just do more damage or more healing or whatever. So we're starting with 5 passives, and you can pick any 2 of them. You get to play around with them. They don't cost skill points. There's a lot of cool stuff that we're using.
They don't cost skill points? Okay, so it's something that you're just gonna like instantly get if you get all your skill lines to 50, basically, I guess. Like all your class specific skill lines to 50.
Using new tech wise, it's highly experimental, but we're trying to make sure things are relatively agnostic, that each one of these passives can do something for any build. Some are going to be more role focused than others. Some might increase your damage, some might increase your ulti-gen, your resource management, your survivability. But this is something that we kind of are just toying around with and experimenting to see, hey, can we make sure that like playing as a Nightblade is just as effective or relatively effective, maybe even better in some cases, depending on the context, than subclassing and min-maxing that system. So this is very aimed at the numerical, like power gamer kind of aspect, while also still enhancing kind of class identity, flavor, and that sort of thing too.
I mean, it's all about the feel, right? So you never want to hit a point on your character where you just feel like you're like you are kind of maxed out, and you kind of feel restricted. Like you never actually you never want to hit that point, right? So hopefully, like, this is really gonna take your build to the next level, or like, yeah, push it over the top kind of thing. So like, what the subclassing is actually doing is, you know, in its like easiest form of explanation, right? It's basically just letting you mix and match like the skill lines that you enjoy the most, or the skill lines that kind of like go good together, fit good together, basically. But what the mastery, it seems like what the mastery is going to be doing, like, it's going to give you these huge buffs, or these like significant buffs. And also provide like that extra little mile of like class identity. But it's going to be interesting to see like the mastery system and the subclassing system like put up against each other, like seeing like the difference, and also kind of like getting a feel for the difference.
Yep. And this is going to be something we're going to evolve over time, because we know that the feedback out there is, well, my class isn't coming until tail end of 2026 or sometime in 2027. This is also a bit of a way to make up that gap for players that are like, well, I'm a top end player. I feel like I have to subclass, but I want to stay true to being a Templar or a Sorcerer or even a DK who just got updated. This is something that's going to evolve over time. Like Alec said, this may turn into more passes that we add. It may just stay 5 and we continually tweak and adjust them. So we'll see how this goes. But I think it's really cool and exciting that we're able to branch out and try this sort of.
Yeah, so what they've kind of done, I guess, with like the 5 the 5 like different passives you can choose for mastery, is that they've kind of like broken down each class into like 5 main aspects, or like there's 5 things that's gonna like kind of greatly improve. There's 5 like greatly improvable aspects, I guess. So it's going to be interesting to see if the like the class mastery is just going to feel like it's kind of like filling a gap of something that's missing, or if it's going to just give you like this straight up like big kind of boost to something. Because, you know, that's 2 different things. Like, let's say you are a Dragon Knight, damage dealer, and obviously what you're looking to do is like as much damage as possible. So what's going to be interesting here is to see, like, are there going to be passives here that's going to like take you like freaking over the top when it comes to the damage. And it would be really cool if you could kind of like, so if you're picking only 2 out of 5, you probably would kind of pick like maybe like 1 that's giving you a lot more of like damage, or at least like a noticeable amount of more damage. And then you would probably pick something that's more like defensive, I guess. So this, for example, this one right here, the recursive flame. Let's have a look what this actually does. So your flames can never truly be extinguished, capable of birthing again from mere ember. When your Dragon Knight damage over time effects ends on a target, you apply recursive flame to them for 12 seconds. This effect stacks up to 12 times, dealing 5.9k flame damage over the duration, and increases by 25% per stack. So how many stacks can we actually have on a target? Like how much recursive fire damage? I mean, this is a really, really cool, like in theory, it sounds like a really, really cool damage over time I mean, this is kind of like what we need, right, in the game. Things that like are really exciting and that are more exciting, like, so when you're starting to build a Dragon Knight and you're thinking, you're just on like the super basic levels, you're thinking, yeah, I'm gonna do like the flame damage, like that's what I'm gonna be focusing on. I'm gonna try to get sets that's gonna like improve my flame damage. I'm gonna spec into stuff that's like giving me more like flame or elemental damage, right? And then you kind of have this recursive flame like in the back of your mind as you're kind of building, if you're kind of theory crafting something, you know, theory crafting a character, you kind of like have this recursive flame in the back of your head thinking like, yeah, okay, so when I reach my class mastery, I'm gonna be able to get the recursive flame, right? That's gonna give me like a huge kind of buff to the damage over time, to the dot, right? Which is also kind of like incentivizing us to actually go out there and do like specific things, right? So it's really complementing what's already there, sort of, right? But it also gives kind of like a clearer direction if you are a new player. Just like looking at the class masteries, it's gonna give you like a great indication of what's gonna be a good direction to head in. Like for example, with the recursive flame, I mean, obviously damage over time. So really, really like diving into the damage over time effects with the recursive flame class mastery in the back of your mind, right? And hopefully it's going to be as obvious, basically, on like other passives,
Of
other classes, other passives.
extra new stuff that sort of started with Vengeance, where we're like, all right.
I mean, like the recursive flame, like it seems like it's the, like if you understand that like the Dragon Knight's dot effects are like really good, like you would understand why recursive flame is so good. But hopefully like the other passives are also kind of like giving us the same inspiration to kind of like head out there and create some like yeah, plan out some builds that we want to make.
Let's just experiment and see what happens. So we're trying to, again, address a couple of problems where it's the power gap between people who are pure class and subclassing, but also to try and help address the my class isn't getting hit until X period of time. Therefore, why would I still want to play my class? So we're trying to hit a couple of those pain points or discussion points that people have brought up.
Okay, so here's another one here. Here's a necromancer one. The pound of flesh. When death knocks at the door, demanding recompense, you collect. When you take damage, you have 1% chance to heal 2.2k health and restore 5% of your missing stamina up to once per second. This chance increases by 1% for every missing health percent you have, and the healing is based off your max health. Okay, so this is really interesting. Like, this is something that's like really gonna make the necromancer more tanky without like having to use necessarily a bunch of the buffs, right? So like your bone armor and your little like companion or your little ghost healing friend, you know. It's kind of like, so obviously you could stack this. You could stack the pound of flesh. You could stack it with those other buffs, obviously. But you could also like approach it like, yeah, okay, so the pound of flesh is, I mean, it's not necessarily gonna like replace those buffs, but it's kind of like gonna free up some space on your bars to kind of like do other things. I mean, it really opens up for like experimentation. Yeah, I think this is a really, really good feature. Like, I wonder when this is actually releasing. If it's like in the 49, in the update 49.
Looking forward to getting this in more testing.
Okay, so here we have the Arcanist here. One of the passives of the Arcanist mastery. You've taken being the master of your own fate literally, ensuring your thread never ends. It upgrades rank 2 of Implacable Outcome to generate maximum crux up to once every 15 seconds. Yeah. So it also kind of like really incentivizes us to dive like deeper into the different classes, right? I think it's a great way to improve like class identity.
Internally, we've gotten players internally saying, I feel like I can parse better now, or I feel like I'm more powerful in VMA or other content where they're like, before they were getting their butts kicked. It's very much so far proving that it is making up that power gap, which is really good to see. But yeah, we'll be looking for feedback on that. Same thing as we are always looking for feedback about our class changes through PTS cycles. We started up our, the next look at what's going from 50 and beyond with Werewolf and Warden. So we're going to be trying to involve everybody with that type of feedback as much as we can and integrate it into the changes that you see.
Cool.
Hey, Wheeler, real quick, the class mastery stuff we just talked about, that's something your team is working on currently. Is that going to roll out with each of the classes' respective refresh, or is it all going to be like in a
It's all going to be all at once. It's going to
Okay.
all classes.
Okay, so the mastery system is like gonna be rolled out simultaneously for all classes.
Yeah, there's going to be an initial push that releases something for every single class. So no matter who you are, there's stuff for Dragonites as well. The numbers and effects of what they do will likely change as we work on each class. Because as I mentioned, we want to make sure that we keep that like cohesive identity tie-in. Some of our classes don't have a lot of like easy hooks for us to dig into, so they might have more generic passives in this beginning, but as we work on them in the class refresh, we'll look back at those skill lines and say, hey, do we need to make enhancements here? Do we need to tie this better into their theme, their identity, their gameplay loops, that sort of thing. And also just like changing numbers as things go. As things get too strong or too weak, we'll go and adjust these. These are meant to be much more iterative and experimental.
So, yes, I wonder if we're gonna like experience this like broken state of things. That would be really cool. Like if something is broken, it's gonna be super fun. Like what pops into mind is like the Necromancer Dark Convergence situation that we had when like the Necromancer was basically kind of new, and the Dark Convergence set was kind of new. Like we had this crazy situations with like the necromantic bombers, you know. So I wonder if we're gonna have like a similar situation here where things are potentially gonna be like broken and super fun, and they're gonna have to be nerfed. You know, I wonder if we're gonna get that type of situation. That would be fun.
Versus normal abilities where we tend to like find a home for them and lock them in and kind of let them sit there, outside of like really complicated weird stuff.
Yeah.
Outlier stuff. Yeah, this is going to be something that we change a lot, depending on player feedback. Again, that's one of those things. If people really end up liking something, we'll find a better home for it and we'll make it more permanent. This is a lot of just stuff driven by player voice and sentiment.
Bro, I feel like there's probably gonna be like some disagreements here. Like some people are gonna be feeling like, yeah, this is too strong. Like something is too strong. It's like, yeah, it's OP. It's like everybody is gonna be running this because it's just like it's so much better than whatever else, you know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a situation like that. Like it's really hard to kind of like hit something where it's like everyone is gonna be, you know, super happy with the changes, you know,
and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, this isn't update 49, right? This is going to be a future.
This will be
Later.
50.
Okay, this is okay. So this is 50. Okay, so this is for okay. So it's not something that's coming like in the super near future. Actually, it's kind of like just like an insight on something that's coming a little bit further up ahead.
Okay, so
I
not too
wasn't
far
sure
away.
if you had a date yet, so I was trying to be
No,
kind of
that's the
vague.
plan.
But all right, great.
Now, again, considering it's still in progress, 50 is what we want. As all things with development, as we saw with Mike's with the question marks, like if they can't get those things.
I mean, it doesn't. So like the important thing here is just like they are that the fact that they are actually sharing this information and letting us know that there is things happening, like there is improvements being made, and kind of just like letting us know what's gonna be up ahead, you know, because it's good to kind of feel that we are getting some improvements, and it's gonna be like fairly near future. But I would assume, like based on the like next big update, which is going to be the season 0, right? That's going to be the update 49, I guess. That's going to be launching in April, like in the very start of April. I mean, I would assume like the update 50 is then probably going to be like closer to summer, right? So it's something that we are kind of like looking maybe like 3 or 4 months ahead here.
Maybe, but it's very much a case where we're shooting for 50. Same way, like down the line, we're shooting for, Warden and.
Yeah, so hopefully, so as they are saying, like they are aiming for this to be for like the class masters, as I'm understanding it, to be released with the update 50. But it's all going to depend, right? If that's a realistic, like, do they think that's realistic, or do they have to like work their butts off to kind of like make that deadline? Because I would much rather want it to be like very well cooked before they release it, instead of it being in this like broken state for like months. Because the thing is that if you release something, like people are gonna adapt to it very quickly, and there is gonna be harder to kind of go back on those decisions for the developers, like based on how the players are gonna react to it, right, or gonna adapt to it. So I really hope that that they kind of like that they cook it properly before they release it. And the PST, I mean, PST is a great arena to kind of like test things. But I mean, there is not so like the amount of players that are actually playing the game is definitely not the same amount of people that are PTSing. So PTSing is something that should be incentivized, I think. Like people should be incentivized to go into PTS, not only like the 1%ers, but like more people should be incentivized going into the PTS. Maybe they could do some type of events around it, or yeah, you get some type of rewards that you can only get in the PTS participation or something. I don't know. Kind of like to incentivize people to go in there, because what they do want from the PTS, right, is a representative opinion of like the player base, right? So if there is 200,000 people playing the game, like just not participating in PTS, just like playing the content as it releases, basically, and there is like, I don't know, 5K people doing like the PTS. I don't know if that's like a representative number at all, but I would assume that there is only a small part of the player base that's actually PTSing. I mean, would that be representative for like the majority of players, is what I'm kind of thinking. I really hope like there is like they have some sort of plan when it comes to this. Like people, different players, like people that are playing this game in different ways, should be kind of included in this PTS, feedback situation. I think like playtesting, because unless it's like changes are going to be made based on just a small percentage of the actual player base.
Sometime in the summer/fall, but as development goes, as we all know in this meeting, this conversation, it's sometimes things change, but we're
summer/fall. It's basically what it's saying is that like they are aiming for summer, but what's more realistic is like late summer, early fall.
We're hoping for the best to get this out sooner than later, to tackle these problems that people have mentioned sooner than later.
Yeah. Can I just say also, like, internally, we've been talking about Update 50 an awful lot. Do you guys remember in Princess Bride when he's in the pit of despair and Humperdinck goes and like raises the machine all the way to 50 and the guy yells, "Not to 50!" Every time somebody talks about 50 or it's like we're going to 50, I immediately think of that scene. Anyway, just had to
Welcome
throw that out there.
to the pit of despair. You're gonna love
now chat is
Update
quoting.
50.
Love it.
Yes. Ramp it up, my dudes. Ramp it up.
Love. Love.
Ramp it up.
All right. Well, now that we've officially lost our minds, we would love to hear what you all thought of this stream. Again, this is kind of a new thing that we're trying, just trying to bring everyone into the fold a little bit more of what the teams are working on. So please let us know your thoughts on format and length and detail and all that stuff. Of course, everybody always wants more detail, but
if we do this every month, though, we have to save some things for the next month.
Yeah, hopefully they will do. Hopefully they will do this like more regularly. To be honest, like I used to love watching the ESO live format of like presenting new content and the updates and everything. Like I used to love it. Like I can find myself like going back to like older versions or like older recordings of like ESO live from like years back. It's just that the vibe is so nice, and there is like so much like excitement surrounding like a bunch of the reveals and stuff. So this is not necessarily like a reveal type of thing. This is more of like a kind of a look into the future, but it's not like very far into the future. It's kind of like a look at like what's coming next, and a little bit more detail than like the last one we watched, which was like the 2026 reveal thing, which I didn't think was like as like I think this format is more exciting. Because we are kind of like, we are getting to see at least like some things. I mean, we are only scratching the surface. So what we have been seeing today is like some of the like difficulty improvements that are going to be available for us in like the overland and the different zones. I mean, obviously it's not going to be available in PvP. Obviously. But in like the overland content, when you're running around clearing the zones, you can actually bump up the difficulty. You will get more rewards, you will get more XP, more gold. One thing that I feel like they really didn't tap into was that, because like certain bosses are gonna be having certain drops, right? So, or have the potential to have certain drops. Like, so I didn't feel like they really went into like how the reward structure is potentially gonna change when you're bumping up the difficulty. So let's say you're on a zone run, like you want to clear a zone, you want to do all the bosses, you want to do all the delves, you want to do everything. But you do want to do it on like a higher difficulty, so basically that you don't have to go like all around the world and clear all the zones to kind of like get the character like to max level, basically. But you can actually do that in one zone. Maybe you can actually even do that in like one area of the zone if you do like the super difficult one, super difficult difficulty, because you're gonna get so much XP that it's gonna be like equivalent to just like stay in a little bandit camp and get the bandits for like 5 hours instead of like running 20 delves or like 10 bosses on like normal difficulty to get like the same amount of XP and progression towards max level. Like, yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see like if this is gonna change up kind of like the meta of how you level, how you take like a character from 1 to 50, basically. If you really love a zone, like let's say for example you really love Somerset, like you would like to stay in Somerset and like really freaking grind on like a harder difficulty, so that you can stay for like the entire progression of your leveling. You can stay just like in one zone. And also one thing that popped into my head here was like imagine if you're kind of grinding on a higher difficulty and then you just lower it, making it feel so that you can just like wipe everything in an instant. I feel that's probably also gonna potentially feel hopefully really good. Yeah, and like the class mastery things that Brian Wheeler has been talking about, Brian Wheeler and Alec. Super interesting stuff. Like people having the choice and the options to kind of like go in either like the subclassing direction or go in like the mastery direction. I think that's a really, really cool thing. I mean, for exploration of like character creations or character developments for us players, I mean, it just gives us some extra things to try, some extra things to experiment with, which I think is really cool. Hopefully, it's gonna lead to some like broken stuff, which is gonna be super fun. Until they kind of like manage to tweak it. I mean, maybe we're gonna have to go on the PTS to experience that, but I don't know if I want to go PTSing, because I kind of like don't necessarily like the fact that you can just like instantly go to like max power just to test things out. I like the journey of a character.
So yeah, this isn't everything the teams are working on. Like obviously there's things that Wheeler's working on the PvP front, and Finn is.
Yeah, come on, Wheeler, give us some more PvP stuff, bro. Give us some more, like, come on. We need some more here. I mean, we're only scratching the surface here.
Other.
Hopefully.
Trial things.
Trial?
Stuff.
Yeah, maybe there's a trial.
God,
Maybe there's a trial they're working on.
Maybe there's a.
Haven't we said what are we gonna be saying?
Right.
It's hard. So anyway.
Well, I mean, a trial's coming later this year, and they know that. So.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, going back to what Gina was saying.
Bro, the trial system. Okay, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. I think the trial system needs reworking. I think the trial system needs a little bit reworking on like the easier aspects of it. I think that you should be able to queue up for trials. I think the queue for the trials should be like a separate queue. So the thing is that now, if you're queuing up for a battleground, you can't queue up for a dungeon, right? I think that the trials, the dungeons, and the battlegrounds, all those 3 different activities should be 3 different queues that you could queue up for simultaneously. So I mean, to me, it's perfectly fine. Like if you queue up for all 3 of them, when you kind of like enter one of them, when you're ready to go in one of them, you kind of like wipe the other 2. You're not in the queue for those other 2 activities anymore. But I really think that for like learning the trials, because right now it feels like the trials have such a high kind of ceiling. Like the way you have to approach the trials as like a first timer in a specific trial. I think like the ceiling is a bit too high to just go in and experience the trial, basically. Like I do know that trials are something that's gonna like require some or it should require some coordination. It should require those type of things with like a group that's kind of working together to build the content. But I think if they lower the ceiling a little bit more and have like this first timer mode to the trial where kind of like anyone can get in there. I mean, there probably should be some type of like level requirements or something. I mean, it could be like a CP 160, just like a CP 160 requirement. But like a mode where you can actually queue up for a trial just for fun, right? Or just for like learning the very basics, and then you can go and ramp up and do like the different but in the beginning, like learning the trial itself should be easier than the way it is right now, I think. Like you should be able to actually fairly easily get into the trial and experience like an easy version of the trial, and then you can just keep stacking, keep like doing harder modes, harder things. I mean, that's perfectly fine, but I think the ceiling should come down a little bit, in my opinion. I think.
About these streams, so we'll try to do these every month. They might be a little short.
Like it's not good that kind of some content is kind of like being gate capped, right?
Sure, they might be a little longer. There might be less people. I don't think we'll have more, but might just be a little different from month to month. So we'll just, let us know what you think, and we'll see how they go.
Yep. Excellent. Well,
appreciate it as always.
Thanks all of you for taking the time, and thanks to chat for tuning in today. We will see you next time. Hope everyone has a great week.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Later.
all.
Thanks.
All right. That's it. Okay.